Bull market's back.
Raring right now. You know, like
AM show brought it back.
I think the biggest problem for any trader, nay, any human being, would be patience. Right? If you follow the right people, they get bullish and bearish at the right times. Now, price targets are a tougher thing, like knowing how long to hold and all that stuff. But man, Twitter is just great. You know, everyone started to turn. I shouldn't say everyone. The right people started to turn bullish late last week. And while it wasn't quite as perky as I had hoped, Twitter has certainly gotten off the mat here. We have seen
when they turn too, right? It's not like they just start shit posting like 80 times, like we're back. It's just like the little, this is interesting. Oh, cool.
We have seen many a sweep in the NFT world. We have seen a new high-profile VC-backed billion-dollar L1 hit the scene. It even had its own cooks on it. We've had the return of Beanie. Bull market's back. That's for sure.
I like that.
It feels that way.
Farouk is on his Rug Radio talking about Reddit NFTs. And whole timeline is talking about them now. So be careful aping into anything without understanding what you're buying. Thanks, Farouk.
Yes, these are not easy NFTs. You need to think before you buy. You know I love those. The NFT that makes you do the work. That's my favorite type of NFT.
My comment was more on Farouk being like, be careful before you buy. Whenever, like, you know, 6 months ago, he must have got a slap on the wrist or something.
And I don't even think it was a slap on the. It wasn't
his
a
lawyer
slap on
being
the wrist.
like, you know, you might be pushing some limits here.
And I think it's just the public, you know, like, and I don't even agree with it. I hate how, you know, there's this idea that if you are an influencer with a lot of followers, you have a responsibility to be the white knight in armor and help the new people and never to. It's like people like Kobe and people like, you know, the more famous crypto Twitter or NFT accounts, they can't even tweet about what they like because everything's interpreted as a shill. You can't even name a coin because everything's interpreted. It sucks because you would want input from these. If you're dumb enough to just ape anything that a person say, you know, whatever, I don't really give a shit. That's just not my concern. Like, this is a deregulated market. And of course, Twitter itself exists in Web 2 and is bound by the laws of the United States. And we don't know what's a security and what's insider trading and what's you know, forget even the SEC, you got the FTC. What's an advertisement versus what is not, you know, coming after you and suing you for shilling something without telling your audience it was all these things. A bit of a pain in the ass to me. It would be nice if people can just take personal responsibility for themselves and everyone could talk about what they wanted to talk about without repercussion. But, you know.
I mean, you do have to be a little bit self-aware of the audience size that you have and how they respond to you too. Like, as you grow in size, right? Like, it's, you know, it's in an ideal perfect world, you know, you get to behave the same way when you have 10 followers as when you have 10 million followers. But we don't exist in a society like that. You do actually have some kind of social responsibility. Now, I don't mean that you have to be the white knight, you know, good shepherd of a community. You don't have to change your tune. If you were an asshole at 10 followers, by all means, continue to be an asshole at 10 million followers because that's what got you there. But I mean, when you're consciously not disclosing that someone is paying you a good amount to shill something and then you dump on them an hour later, like, there are lines. I do think that.
Yes. Here is kind of here's where I look at it, right? If an influencer or somebody who has a lot of followers and they tweet about something and then they sell 3 minutes later, I think you gave a good example of where people should be angry if they wouldn't have bought it anyway and a company paid them. Okay, I guess in my mind, I was thinking back to the most recent Farouk controversy where he minted a free mint. It was like BBs. What was the Saudis? It was called the Saudis or something like that.
Something. It was a pretty big one though, and it was hyped, and he helped get it hype. And then on that hype train, in the middle of it, he started.
Right. He wasn't paid by the Saudis. He wasn't paid. Oh, but tell me, which one of you, when you buy something and it starts to moon, doesn't feel like running the Discord or running the Twitter and just typing anything you can about it and all this? He's not sitting there like some genius mastermind going, ha 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 ha, I'm going to.
He is very aware of the fact that he is a market mover, or was.
Yes. I understand that. In my perfect world, that doesn't matter. If somebody has 1 million followers and they can move markets, well, great. They earned that. They literally earned that. I mean, like, Nancy Pelosi should be allowed to insider trade.
Okay, fair. The people running the country do the same shit. You're right.
Period.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, on the contrary, they do get held to too high of a standard because, like somebody like a Farouk, when he jumped into the lemon spaces and started buying them, and the Pharaoh had, he was all hyped, and they caused this huge run up. I didn't see him sell into any of that, but a couple months later, he started selling them, and then everyone was like, "Oh, Farouk, what?"
Well, because
you are allowed to make a judgment call 2 or 3 months later when it's like, well, this project wasn't nearly as exciting as I thought it would be. Like,
well, and here's my main issue, right? Especially if you're a trader, I understand he's not like a trader, like that's not his main thing. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a trader, I could come on this show and be as bullish as I've ever been in my life. And then all of a sudden the show ends, some new data point comes out, I'll flip on a dime. I'll be like, I'm bearish now. I want to go max short. Well, I just spent an hour and a half telling everybody that I'm bullish. Do I have to go now write some 3-tweet thread about the thing I saw, how it like blah, blah, blah? I'm a trader. My mind can change at any fucking moment. Do not take something on a live stream of consciousness as a signal. Okay. Same thing with Farouk.
So then I guess we got to do not take anything that was said on this show as financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I think that's a terrible phrase because I don't think anyone should take anything as financial advice. The idea of financial advisor is a moronic thing. There are people out there without the license that could guide you better, and there are people with the license who don't know what they're doing, and vice versa. It's every end of the spectrum. The license means nothing. All it means is that the government or an institution says, or that type of thing says. I just think that what we like about kind of this Web3 identity and economy is that you can build a blockchain verifiable resume off of your actions and then allow that to be your credentials versus somebody just saying you are because you cheated off this person's test who was sitting next to you in the right, in the right class at the right time type of thing.
Yeah. No,
great equalizer.
I agree with that. I can get down with that for sure. Guys, GM, episode 157 of the AlphaMint Morning Show. It is October 24th. It is a Monday. It's nice here. It's not nice in New York. And I think we got a pretty good show lined up for you. We're going to be talking about Azuki's golden skateboards. They set not only the record for the most expensive skateboard ever stolen, but the top 8 most expensive skateboards ever. Did I say stolen? Sold. Sorry, my car got broken into this weekend, and I got theft on the mind, so that was frustrating. But whatever, it is what it is. GM Wesley, what's up, Drip Cult? Good to see you guys here. Free Market, how you doing? How was your weekend, man?
It was pretty good. And I'll just say this as plain as I can: if you want your stuff back, you're going to give me that Begon you bought over the weekend. We can do a fair exchange. Or you can keep holding out.
The Begon's worth more.
Well, we love the
Begon. No, I got a nice pair of sunglasses and an old cell phone stolen, so that was nice. But whatever, it happens. If you're out there listening, fuck you. But I mean, what a time to be alive, because you log into a website and you say brick my phone, and it is now
I'll tell you, Dickens is
Like,
suspiciously missing from the audience today.
I've
Mm,
never seen Dekenza and my old cell phone in the same room at
mm,
the same time. Wait,
mm.
that's not how that works. Uh, yeah, I bought a BGAN this weekend.
You bought a lot of
I,
begans. If you look at the movie, there's many of them in that one NFT you bought. Quite a
oh
few.
yeah, yeah. You know what? Honestly, I've done a lot of BGAN purchasing of the. Let me pull it up here. I don't even know what I'm typing here. There it is. I've done a lot of sweeping of the floors of BGANs. Obviously, we've talked a lot about them on the show, and that's a long term bullish play. But I never had the hyped AF one, and those are the sick ones. And when the BGANs get moving, they sell for a pretty penny, because if there's one thing I know about um, the BGAN punks, is that the people that are holding them like diamonds, and then there's just the floors that kind of seem to move around as the ebb and flow of the price goes on. But let's see if I can find it. You know, they don't have
And
huge
it
volume on there. This
here's
one,
the thing. It's a very bifurcated collection in a lot of ways. You're going
it's
to
not the best
see
hyped AF, but it was 0.79, and the rest of the floor was one.
I
But
think
those,
they
like I
got up
said,
to a 4 ETH floor back
yeah,
during the pump last year. So believe me, they're on discount, and there's 800 and something of them. So these are the rare of rare. You know, if you look at something like the 4-digit and 3-digit ENS, right? There's 10,000 4-digit ENS, and there's 1,000 3-digit. There's only 800 Begon hypes, so that makes them the rares of this collection. Now, there are lots of interesting niches within Begons. We saw a recent hoodie sweep
yeah,
of
and they were paying a
multiple,
lot for them, 2, 3,
a
4
lot.
ETH.
30, yeah, 25, I think 35 ETH. One went for 13.
It was
Um,
actually this guy that bought them, I think, too. Maybe not.
yeah.
Anyways.
So it's one of these collections that you're going to see the rares reflect the value long before the floors. In most collections, people will say, "Damn, look at that fire hair on the
Yeah.
gray background. Why does that work so fucking much?" Woo. Um, so
We're gonna change the title of this show. We're gonna talk about begins for the next hour.
well,
No.
right now you can get good money for your rares. Maybe they don't move all the time, but a good rare, a desirable one, a grail will actually get you good money right now. The floor doesn't reflect that, and that's always how this collection is. Now, when it gains popularity, of course you're going to see those floors move, but this is, you know, Bastard is easily the most appropriate name for any collection that has ever existed. These are just the weird bastard children of NFTs, valuable in some ways, loved by all the right people, but just always margin. Like, they are literally that king that is supposed to be king but isn't quite king. Like, this is exactly who they are, perfectly named. And I have said this over and over again: the heir apparent to punks, the heir apparent. As the masses come, and I'm not a big like get the masses here tomorrow type of thing. This could be in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. I don't know. Okay. But when the masses come, and the two things that they look for are punks and apes. Okay. Yes, you're going to have the lower end derivatives that maybe the average person buys, but the high end considerate buyer is going to be looking at a few collections. And with apes, you're going to be talking about obviously Bored Apes, Mutant Apes, all the Yuga branded stuff. With punks, you talk about crypto punks, and then they're going to talk about Begons. These are going to be worth a minimum of a tenth of what punks are. There's 22,000 legitimate punks in the world, not 10,000. And this collection is the most obvious blind spot in NFTs, period. These are going to 10 ETH floor.
It was also it's also verifiably done and made before like the derivative meta hit. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it wasn't spawned because one derivative was successful and then 1,000 other ones, that all the doodles ones, the stretching punks, the flipped punks, all of those stuff. Like this was a very carefully crafted
This is
collection.
before Bored Apes, everybody. This is pre-apes.
It
So
is, yeah.
nobody was here. These weren't for hype boys. These weren't for the NFT market today. These are owned by the right people because those were the only people here when they minted.
Yeah, Drip is saying begins are far more interesting too. So much depth that is constantly being recognized as traits to this day, and that is 100% as well true as well. Because this was done through an adversarial network, right? It wasn't just a straight like we're going to make 100 traits and we're going to paste them all over. This was a machine process that was like smashing them together, and it took them a long time. And a lot of these weird things that happen with it is just kind of the glitches in it that once it all spat out, some of them are actually pretty beautiful. And the nice thing is, some of them really aren't that attractive either, right? Like it has this like crazy range of them. And I will say, like, I find myself getting lost in looking at them way more than I do almost any other collection, but particularly punks for sure.
And you'd be surprised the market for ugly one. Like there are people that almost the uglier the bit. Like it's just a very interesting collection.
Like these backgrounds were not backgrounds that Burke created, right? Like they were generated.
Well, he tried. I mean, he wanted glitch backgrounds. It
No,
wasn't.
no, yeah, he went for it. But I'm just saying,
Right,
like, it wasn't like you're not going to see this background 45 times.
It is the same type of GON that Art Blocks used, but Burke tweaked it for many. You may not know, not you, but other people may not know that there's a V1 B-Gons collection. I think it has a 10th floor. There's not a lot of them. I think there's like 30 of them. It was his first time experimenting with a GON and the original CryptoPunks collection. And then he spent the next however many months or years, I forget the distance in between, tweaking it until he got the type of things that he wanted out of you could see how different it is. This is him just learning. This is him figuring it out.
This one's fucking sick.
And just notice there's none for sale, right? Like you want to talk about diamond-handed holders, like these just aren't going to leave collectors'
The Florida
hands.
500 ETH is only 6.
That would be a nice jump for sweep there. And he spent the next however much time tweaking the GON till he got what you see in V2, and it's not a punk derivative in the traditional sense. This is like, I've always called it the evolution of, but this takes the concept of punks and moves them forward. I've always said aesthetically they look better. They're as Drip Cult said, they're more interesting. They're better than punks. This is what I consider the DGen 401k. If instead of dollar cost averaging into some coin, I'd be dollar cost averaging into B-Gons for the next months, years, or however long it takes until these are recognized as what they are, the heir apparent to the CryptoPunk collection.
Yeah, so cool. You can definitely see that this was like the first iteration. It does look like that really murky, like earlier AI photo, like image generation. You know what I mean? Like that just gets that like weird kind of almost creepy, like burnt look around stuff that you would see on those images when they were first getting the AI stuff. And now obviously it's incredibly clean, like Dolly and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyways, we'll move on from Begins. But I just thought that was an interesting side note. Thank you for bringing it up. Let's talk about crypto. As predicted on the show, you said that crypto was going to have a weekend. You certainly weren't wrong. Since we were back on the show, we're up about probably 4 or 5%. We're up 3% on the 24-hour. But nice little run. ETH 1350 again on Friday. I think that was about 1260, somewhere in that ballpark. So almost $100 gain for ETH. Bitcoin did cross back over 19,000. I think it was at 18.2, somewhere in that ballpark. But yeah, good little run. It has pulled back a little bit since then. Last night, it looked like it got to about 1370, but not too bad. Looking at the S&P, we're having an okay morning. It's up almost, well, now about 0.5%. But what are you seeing for this week going forward?
Well, it was a rocky week last week that ended really strong. We had a crazy reversal the week before. We came in Monday with continued strength, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were rocky. And sorry, I got distracted. But towards the end of the week, it got very strong on Friday, and Friday was options expiration, and people were actually expecting more weakness, but we ended up the day almost 3% on traditional markets. So I'm not surprised that we're taking a little breather this morning when
It's actually going
futures
on a run now.
opened. Holy crap. Well,
from the time
it's
that I pulled that
interesting.
up to the time now, it was up 0.6%. So,
Well, here's why I said that. When
10 minutes away.
Globex, which is known as Global Exchange, opened last night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard, that is when Chicago futures open for the world. S&P popped a lot. It was above. It was right where it is right now, above 3,800. And then, as the yen started to creep back towards 150, where the Bank of Japan had intervened last week. One reason we got really bullish was the Bank of Japan intervening and helping the dollar get a little weaker at one point. It started to creep up again. Boom, they came back with even more intervention. And then we saw what usually happens. You got the pop on the news and then the sell the news, right? So the sell the news came, and we've actually been drifting lower all evening. We came in this morning. It was a small pop, but it basically looked like R2's screen for a while, where we were above 3,800 last night, and this morning we were about 25 points low. Remember, in markets, it's not just what the final tally was, up 1%, down 1%. It's the psychology of how did we open, how did we trade, and how did we close? You know, the market has three things that happen to it every day. It opens, it trades, and it closes. That tells a story, right? Because if we open down 2% and close up 0.1%, that's a lot more bullish than opening up 3% and only closing up 0.5%. And you may say, well, we closed up 0.5% one day and 0.1% the other. But remember, it's psychology, right?
Yeah.
So you want the market. If you want the best psychology is when the market opens strong, trades strong, and closes strong, right? But if you wanted to say that, you know, it's still better if the market opens weak and closes strong versus opens strong and closes weak, even if weak is a green, even if it's still technically green that day. So this is on Friday, we opened red and closed very green. That's, you know, psychologically, that's very, very strong for markets. It's not surprising to me that we at least saw some consolidation last night. Coins did start to lead, as it were, on late Saturday and Sunday. Crypto started to move kind of before traditional markets did. This is all due, ladies and gentlemen, to rumors of what we talked about over the on Friday, which is a soft pivot, okay, a pivot. The Federal Reserve has hinted that they're going to stop their interest rate campaign in December. All right, that's probably true. That does not mean they are lowering rates. That does not mean the bull market has started. That means they will stop causing more pain. That is short-term bullish for markets. But understand what they're doing. They're pausing to see what the effects of what they did are going to do, because we've talked about before lag on this show and how the effects from 4% interest rates will not be felt till later this year. All right. Now you're going to see data start to improve and people feel better, and the Fed is going to pause. Well, it's not a surprise that risk assets led by crypto are going to start moving higher. Now we need confirmation. These are rumors. The next big event in markets, and this is for crypto and traditional markets, is CPI on November 10th. This is your first year-over-year comparison that should come in soft. Remember, 7% inflation started last November. So this is the first time a year-over-year comparison will be 1 year. You're talking about the same time. You're not
and I think
scary headline. Yeah.
I think people always forget that that metric is the year over year. It's not comparing it to the previous month, or like it's comparing it to the November print of last year, correct? Or like what the
Yes.
statement was. So if that jump was 7% and inflation hasn't gone crazy, all of a sudden you could see it come back down to a normal 2% because for that
Well,
12-month period, I'm
yeah.
not saying it's going to be that soft, but I'm just saying
Well,
like
it'll be about
it
it.
would still be 7% over October 2021. You
Mhm.
know, like
Yep. Now, it will likely be about 6%. Now, here's why that's important. Okay. You've had the market tank on headline inflation numbers, even though we know since May, producer prices, in other words, the input prices that affect your goods, have been going down. And not just down a little, literal deflationary pressure, where commodities have been absolutely poleaxed to the same prices we saw last year, okay, before inflation started. So we know that inflation peaked, but the headlines haven't given the Fed any excuse to stop. So it's not about whether November 10th, that real number, the month over month core, that high frequency signal that real traders watch, it almost doesn't matter if it comes in line or hot, because you're going to get the headline excuse to start this soft pivot, and you're going to get the headline excuse to continue a rally. Remember, this rally didn't start on peak inflation and soft CPI. It started on a hot inflation number. And that's what I have been pounding the table on all year. Markets don't bottom on good news, they bottom on bad news. So to sit there and wait for the data to look good, you're going to be buying the next local top. You need to buy when there's blood. And it wasn't about buying before last week. It was about waiting for the signal from last week, the signal that sellers are gone. Because when you get hot CPI and you rally 300 S&P points off of it, there's just no more sellers left. There's no more obvious signal. And translating it back to crypto, I think that crypto is going to start leading again. The meme that has been going around crypto for weeks now has been the volatility dying. Currency more volatile, blah, 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 blah. You know me. When something becomes consensus, I like to fade it. That's why I thought this weekend would be a pop. I think whatever weakness you see needs to be bought now. We've gone from sell the rip to buy the dip short term. I'm talking 4 to 6 months here, and I'm not looking for new all-time highs. Don't get all moon boy on.
Well, I remember the last time when volatility dead in crypto, and then it was a very fun 6 months after. So, you know, you're right. Like, where else do you have to go, right? If the sellers start to dry up and the volatility dries up and the price is staying pretty much stagnant, then you're just looking for buyers to come back.
Well, and here's the argument as to why they will. Everyone loves to pull up the 2008 analogies right now. And there are so many reasons why those analogies are wrong, but let's look at one of the core ones. This is not a systemic liquidity issue. If people remember from 2008, had George W. Bush and incoming President Barack Obama not gotten together with Ben Bernanke and decided to write a blank unlimited check to all Western banks, the Western financial system, as you know it, would have collapsed. Literal collapse. We're talking you need bullets more than good stock picks. That type of collapse would have happened.
You're talking about 0% interest rates, right?
Yeah. This is not, well, 0% interest rates and then quantitative easing. I mean, QE comes in many forms. I won't get into that theory, but it's not just one thing that's QE. 0% interest rates is part of QE. There's other factors to QE. That, okay, was a systemic crisis. This is not, okay? This is a inflation-induced short-term panic that is seeing some institutions fail and the froth getting wiped out. What have we lost so far? We've lost crypto, which is a insignificant half an Amazon sector, okay? And we've lost a few hedge funds that were over leveraged in SPACs and shit like that. That's not a systemic crisis. That's wiping the froth off the map, okay? And if this isn't 2008, the amount of cash sitting on the sideline that's going to flood back in, that means it's going to be quicker. That means you're going to see that type of energy come back into the market faster. Okay, now this is all tempered by higher interest rates, and this is not the beginning of the new bull market. But the reason you're going to see a pop that's much larger than your average, like, okay, now it's just dead and goes sideways for 2 years, is because there's so much cash on the sidelines. Remember, this crisis was not induced by low liquidity. It was induced by too much liquidity out there. Inflation, too much liquidity.
Yeah, and they're going to have a hard time pulling it in, especially when they continue to put more liquidity into the market, right? Like,
yeah,
we've seen that too. Let's slide on from that conversation. I just pulled this article up as a quick thing to talk about, just because Fire Festival was mentioned in regards to, I believe, the other deeds last week when we were talking about them, but thought it was pretty funny. Fire Festival's island being turned into an enclave for crypto millionaires. I feel like there's just some kind of level of irony in here of this island now being shilled to crypto millionaires as a place that you want to come, live and spend your time and whatnot. It seems to be that hilarious parallel between Fire Festival and maybe cheese sandwiches right now. I don't know.
Boy. Yeah, I think that
I actually just started laughing when I read this, because I mean, maybe it's going to be a nice place, but it's just, sometimes I feel like we are the victim of our own hubris or something here.
look, if I was a real estate developer, and I don't know who at what real estate conventions is pushing this model of crypto people are rich, they want to live away from normal society, let's go
They haven't
build
looked
these
at the
things.
market recently.
It is a common model now, and my guess is it's being pushed at real estate seminars. So like people who are wealthy and in real estate like to push this idea. I don't necessarily buy into it. I don't think that any of them are going to be successful. I think it's like a play on Balaji's digital nation state, or whatever he calls it. And a great interview I've heard with Lex Friedman posted over the weekend, though it is 8 hours. So you may have to break it up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you may have to break it up over a few days.
That man can talk. Holy.
Like, I'm literally not going to listen to it. Like, I'll just hear what people talk. I just don't care. Like, I'll respect. I've learned you don't need to be early to anything. You just need to be aware it's happening and then get in at the meat of the move, and you'll do fine. So maybe these things are true. What was I go? Oh, Fire Island is a beautiful, beautiful place in New York, off of Long Island, where people go for the summer. Fire Festival seems ridiculous. This is funny.
Now, there's only 42 units, so I'm sure that they can pitch it to 42 people that will be willing to take a hit on their portfolio to buy one of these. Oh, sorry, 60 Ultra. You know what? I didn't even read the subtitle, but the infamous locale is being repurposed for the crypto elite who will need to snag an NFT to get in. There you go. NFT.
What's your first? Okay, let's say
I'm bullish now. No, I like it. I was laughing before. Like, throw NFTs in there. I'm like, perfect.
No, let's say you're set on doing this. Like, R2 has decided he's going to do this. What's your first concern?
Where am I getting the millions of dollars to do this?
You're already a millionaire. You bought Aptos at $10 and it went to 6,000. So don't worry. You're already a millionaire.
Oh, we're talking hypothetically. Okay.
Yeah. You've decided to do this. What is your first concern going to this island?
I don't know. I haven't put myself in the spot. What's yours? You're going somewhere with this.
Where's the supermarket?
Who else is here? Where are the people?
Where's the local convenience store? Where do I get blunt wraps? Where do I get a lighter if my lighter fluid runs out? What? So you're just flying?
Aptos is at $60,000 now. I can just pay someone to drive my yacht to go get some.
Yeah, I still feel like that's a waste of time. I don't
have any problems. I have no concerns if Aptos is at 60,000.
6,000. Don't be greedy. What are you, out of your mind?
Oh, yeah. Oh, right.
What are you, crazy? I mean, come on. 60.
All right. Well, speaking of Aptos, Aptos market debut, more than $1 billion worth of APT traded in the first week. Aptos has crypto Twitter talking and traders moving big money. This is shaping up to be kind of the next big VC invested L1 NFT platform, changing the game pump, I guess. It was highly shorted on its launch. I think there was a lot of confusion. They were being listed without any circulating supply or max total supply. The token wasn't even out yet, blah, 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 blah. I think you were a little bit more in tune with what was going on than I was with this. But, Aptos is also being touted as the hot new NFT platform. I don't know why I need to be bullish on this. I don't. I guess the bet really is just that this turns into the next Solana, which is a footnote to Ethereum, but also just goes up in price. I'm not sure. I don't know why we continue to need more L1s.
This chain claims to be technically better. I don't know why.
They all do.
There's no
every single one. Cardano is too.
Yeah, it doesn't have like a new use case from what I understand. Like this isn't some chain that does something we've never heard of. This is just a better, faster horse, right? So I don't know anything about its long-term prospects. There's a few things. This is just such a great story for a few reasons, okay? Number one, people understand the model at this point, okay? This is a new chain. People understand NFTs can be made on any smart contract chain. There was a NFT marketplace and collections ready to launch within hours of this network going live to the public, all right? Had you gotten in on the Mingos, the first free mint on the Aptos chain, well, you went from $0 to $2,000, okay? So it was 100, however you want to look at it with the gas fees, 100x, whatever you want to say. And the other thing was, it seemed very obvious how this was going to play. It was almost like an airdrop, if you think about it, because VCs had gotten in on this very early. They had paid quite a high value. This wasn't going to be some gem you discovered at $30 million and got up to $1 billion. Okay, this thing was well-known, well-funded, right people, bunch of big money in it already. But all of crypto Twitter saying that it's this is just a VC dump on retail, blah, 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 blah. Anytime crypto Twitter goes max meme bearish on something, my mind starts to think buy. Not necessarily buy right away, but my mind, it's the contrarian in me, but it's also just kind of how you have to think about the idea of consensus. When something is consensus, it's almost guaranteed for the opposite to happen. The other thing you have to think about is a bunch of VCs own this token, and the only thing you had access to a few days ago when it will launch were the futures, the perps. Of course, it started to tank immediately. They were shorting it against what they owned. It's free money. Literally, you're just literally able to cash out free money right away. So a bunch of them started to do that. And then it kind of went market maker sideways, where it was just in this little range of people thinking it's going to break out, it's going to tank, it's going to break out, it's going to tank. But it was the only story on crypto Twitter all week, with the exception of, Spot maybe finally breaking out of its, sideways crab or whatever. This was the story, not just the chain launching, not just the controversy over the futures, not just that it was a new L1 in a bear market, but even an NFT side to the story. So, I mean, this seemed to be an obvious buy on every level. And I'm not saying to go out and buy Aptos here. I'm saying look at these situations. How many of these do we? This is a very funny bear market, isn't it? Because throughout the entire bear, like if you just zoomed out and forgot about what happened in 2021, you may fucking think this was a bull market. Like take 21 out of it, smooth out the trend. Say we just got here from last February. From February 2021, all of a sudden we went into October 2022. You'd think this was a fucking NFT bull market. Okay? And a crypto bull market. Sure, maybe your spot investment in ETH and Bitcoin went down, but I don't know, man. This is a different market. The people that said we could never have another bear market like the old days, I would argue have kind of been proven right. All you've had to be is liquid and aware. And it was Aptos last week. I wonder what it's going to be next week. But This was a very cool situation because it played out kind of how a lot of these things have played out during the bear market. Everyone's bored, nothing to do. Regardless of what you hear, there's still plenty of liquidity on the sidelines. And when something becomes the story, there are a lot of angles and a lot of ways to play it. Maybe this is your new long-term L1. Maybe it was a great trade that you bought at 7. Maybe you minted a bunch of Mingos. Gotta love it. APT.
Yeah, I mean, there was just a lot of confusion, I think, when this was going live because, I mean, even Kobe was saying FTX Binance are listing Aptos without any tokenomics transparency at all. FTX, their official write-up on the coin was tokenomics. As of the time of writing, the emission schedule and total supply of the Aptos blockchain have not been released. So, I mean, like this thing was literally getting listed and trading off nothing. Like I know that we don't normally go off like what's the actual value, what's the like it's all speculative, right? But pretty crazy that even like the big exchanges like FTX were just listing it without even knowing that information from Aptos, right? So also not to be discounted, former Libra engineers. Libra, of course, was Facebook's attempt at a currency, which completely got shut down and for good reason. But yeah, I mean, I guess watch it. If nothing else, there's attention on it, right? And we all know what the power of attention does to this space and these coins, these tokens, these NFTs. So it's gonna be an interesting one to watch.
Okay, here's my big debate, real quick.
Okay,
all right.
Yeah.
It's about L1s and the next cycle. Someone wrote a great thread. I wish I could find it, but I completely forgot who did, about exactly how you should play crypto. And you've heard this from a few people before, that you don't buy anything that exists right now. There's no reason. If you look at history and you look at the last few cycles, it behooved you to buy a new L1 that launched in the last third of the bear market. They did a lot of analysis and they said it's buying a new L1 that launched in the last third of the bear market. That's a very general zoomed out view of what you should do, but that is what has made millionaires out of people who have put, a few $1,000s into things. So it was basically a thread like, don't go buying all the old coin. You're looking for blah, blah, blah. Just sit there in liquid and wait, okay? But I think my problem is I've seen that thread 6 times this year. Everybody knows it. Everyone knows what the play is, okay? Yeah. So now here's the thing. If we do get another alt L1 cycle, I bet Aptos is a buy right here. Like, not that it can't fall 30%, not that this is the bottom, whatever. Aptos is probably a buy for a good 10 to 1000x, depending on in the next cycle, if alt L1s have juice. Now, it's anyone's guess is as good as anybody else's. In markets, you're supposed to do something until it stops working. Guessing that something is going to stop working, there's no point to it because patterns tend to repeat over and over and over again.
We drew the car analogy last week, and it was like, when Tesla was first starting to get its legs, there were people that were like, well, why buy this? What is going to make it? Every other car company exists, and that's the cap. It'll never be as big as them. So it's hard to say because I can sit here and say we don't need any more L1s, but that doesn't mean that it's true. And it doesn't mean that there won't be other ones that are just as successful, if not more successful, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know if maybe that's not a fair comparison, but that's where my mind is going, is that like people said the same thing about Tesla. It's just another car company. These other ones can just turn on the electricity, battery generated or battery powered cars, and Tesla will go, right? But it didn't.
Yeah. I guess it's what is the alt L1 cycle, right? Like in general, the alt L1 cycle is the idea that you're making a faster, better Ethereum or a faster, better Bitcoin, right?
Right.
If that concept can't convince people next cycle, then that's what I'm worried about. That general idea of the alt L1 cycle won't play out. Now, could at any point somebody come out with something more innovative or as innovative as ETH or Bitcoin? And of course, that could happen at any time, at any point. I'm more concerned with whether this, like, it's just a bigger, faster, speedier, better horse idea, which has played out like 3 times now, whether that's going to happen again. I would say maybe it won't, but you probably don't want to bet against it until you see it stop happening, right? Like, there's.
No, I will say this, though, because you mentioned a bigger, better, faster Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't see very many L1s going after Bitcoin these days.
Was that a thing? Like, I wasn't there.
Oh yeah. Oh
It
yeah.
was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, just the basic coin. This exists as a currency.
Yeah.
It's not going to do anything, but it's way faster. And then that's one of the reasons why they did all of the forks too, right? The Bitcoin SV, Bcash, all of Bitcoin Gold. It was like, we're going to take Bitcoin, but we're going to make it better. And everyone's like, yeah, but we don't actually need it to be. We want it to do exactly what it's doing now because it's secure as fuck.
There can only be
that could be a really good bull case for Bitcoin too, like very long term, is that it doesn't seem like anyone's trying to attack it anymore.
You can't. Well, I mean, there can only be one gold, because if you convince the world that you can just invent other golds, then what value does gold have? Right? By its nature, there has to only be one type. Like, Bitcoin can only be one thing. Like, if anyone ever convinces, oh no, these 21 million other tokens are the real sound. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, you know, other L1s exist because they're smart contract platforms. They do something different. And that's what I mean. Could someone come up with something that does something completely different than smart contracts or Bitcoin? Sure.
That's what I would be bullish on, for sure.
Right.
If someone's really changing the game in that regard.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, this has been going on for a while now, but Opensea Nate Chastain was trying to get some of his charges dropped, of course, about the insider trading that he got fired for from Opensea. And of course, the Department of Justice decided to go after him with wire fraud and money laundering charges. This is going to go through a trial, and this is weird because you had a good thought in the pre-show when we were talking about this, and we were kind of humming and hawing about whether or not to even talk about this, because I mean, it's a little bit old news and there's maybe not a lot of meat left on this bone, but with the Ripple thing kind of happening, with the SEC going after Ethereum, all of this stuff kind of seems to be coming to a head. And you made the good point of, like, what judge is going to want to set precedents on this, that NFTs were considered or are eligible for insider trading. The article is pretty short, basically just saying that they're going to go through with it. But the final kind of statements were the ones that were interesting. The columnists and traders were charged. Oh, no, sorry, that's the wrong one. The judge did concede that the use of the term insider trading may be misleading, and said the appropriate response would be to strike the phrase from the indictment and prevent the government from using the term at trial. So the judge is already taking a little bit of a stance that maybe there's some reaching going on here in terms of what he did. Now, I do think that Opensea had all rights to fire him because he was acting in a conduct not, beholden to their company values or whatever, however you want to spin it. But in terms of legal precedents, this is going to be pretty interesting. And I also do wonder, I would imagine that there's probably someone or some company or something that is fronting him some very real legal fees to try and fight this, because I think the implications of what he's getting charged for transcend just him. As we mentioned at the time, Nate was a little bit of a low-hanging fruit. We all knew it happened. It was all the legwork had been done to find the ins and outs of his transactions and the history of everything. But I think the idea of what the trial represents is much, much bigger than just Nate. So I don't know. What's your kind of take on this as this slowly moves forward?
Yeah, this is such an overreach by the prosecutors here. If I was this judge, I would throw the goddamn book at them, the prosecutors, not Nate, because what they are trying to do here is they're trying to force a judge to use this case. Okay. And think about how puny and insignificant,
hundreds of thousands of dollars tops.
Tops. I thought it was tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. Okay.
It was like multiple ETH.
All the charges and language that they use are exaggerated and overreaching, and you need a very specific lens to look through to consider these things what the government says they are. So what you are asking this judge to do is use this case to set US law, to set precedent here when there's nothing on the books for it. This is the biggest overreach, and I think a major mistake by the prosecutors, because if I was the judge, I would throw this case out, and I don't think they're going to be able to get him on anything. What they're trying to do here, poorly in my opinion, is they're trying to create a precedent so that the SEC can then use this as evidence to say that NFTs are securities, Ethereum, whatever they want to do. And the problem is they're doing it poorly. They're doing it sloppily, and they're doing it with the worst possible case. This is absolutely ridiculous. I could argue this case in front of the judge. If they get a half-competent lawyer, Nate's going to walk away from this very easily. This is so ridiculous.
We should start the petition for FMC to be on the legal team of Nate versus the state. The state versus Nate. Is that how it would work?
That would be a movie.
Yeah. Well, considering that everything becomes a Netflix documentary, I would not be surprised to see. It would probably be some very dark, hard-hitting thing about the dirty backwaters of NFT trading. All right, let's get into the big topic of the day. So, as of last week, the most expensive skate ever stolen. God, I keep saying it, ever sold was $38,000. Jamie Thomas and Bob Dylan. Jamie Thomas, very famous skateboarder that FMC is not aware of. That's okay. And Bob Dylan collaborated on a skateboard with some handwritten lyrics and blah, blah, blah. It sold at an auction for $38,000 for charity. And the other one's $35,27. Azuki just set the top 8 in one fell swoop. Now, I don't think that these are really being bought as skateboards, nor were these other ones. They are collector's items. But Azuki just sold 8 of them, with the most expensive one going for almost $400,000. And that was done by Dingaling, the legendary trader. And is that of not Pixel Vault? What's that group called? I can't remember. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, 309. Yeah, you know who Dingaling is, right?
I know who Dingaling is. He's part of the group.
Yeah. Not Pixel Vault. The what's that? Yeah, okay, it doesn't matter. Anyways, $400,000 for the top one. The bottom one went for 200 ETH. All 8 of them sold. Azuki raised $2.5 million in a weekend by selling 8 golden skateboards. Of course, they were using this to launch their physically backed token as well. So you'll be able to scan the little bean on the skateboard, presumably, and verify that you own it, and you'll get a token in your wallet. Azuki not dead, I guess. I didn't really ever understand this narrative that Azuki was dead. I know people had a huge bone to pick with Zagabond, maybe rightfully so, but I didn't know that we had reached the Azuki dead narrative.
Yeah, I think it was a ridiculous premise with the floor at 6.5 ETH, but people with their morals and virtue signaling love to declare it dead because Zagabond is a scammer. I think this puts that to rest. Now, does it usher in a new bull era for Azuki? I mean, I think these second-tier blue chips can get to 10, 12 ETH regularly, maybe push 15 or 16 at certain points, but then the market kind of just settles back in or whatever. I mean, this is interesting. It's cool. I think it's dope that they release these skateboards. I don't know.
I don't think that the physical backed tokens have like anything to do with this. I think that they could have released these as collector's items without that token, and it still would have sold for the same thing. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
I mean, I don't think this is a secret, but I think this is just effective marketing.
Yeah.
I like high-end auctions make the news. Like, there's nothing more complicated. Physical back tokens are a ridiculous concept right now. Absolutely ridiculous. It makes literally no sense. where like it doesn't even make logical sense, let alone like technical sense, right? So, you know,
I think the
like if
technical
I
sense
hold
of it works. Like you scan this thing, you get a token. If somebody else scans it, it gets transferred to them. I don't know who pays for the gas fee, but I mean, maybe
so if
that's
my friend is over at my house and scans the skateboard, he gets the token.
that seems to be the case, and that's why I didn't understand
Interesting.
that's why I didn't understand the excitement of it, right? Like
Right.
it's
So again,
you
this is a
have the token,
useless thing.
like the token doesn't have any value because it's backed by the physical item, and the physical item is what has the value. So what is the use case for the token other than to digitally say that you have this in your house? I guess I don't know. Like I was never really bullish on the physical backed token, but if there's one thing that you can say for sure, as you just mentioned, is Azuki is good at marketing and holding people's captivating people's attention, getting them excited, because I mean they continue to just get crazy engagement on all their posts. They continue to be talked about. Their airdrop with Wiz Khalifa was masterful, to say the least.
There's
And they're good at what they do, but it's not because they're pushing the limits of technology. And I think that is just, I think that's just some kind of bullshit justification for this existing. To be
there are
honest with
two things about human beings that will always be true. And that is rich people will waste their money to pad their egos because they are emotionally dead inside. And poor people will go to free platforms and complain about it. These are two things that will always happen until time ends. Until time ends. So if you own a company and you're just sitting there one day like, how can we drum up some interest in our company? One, sell something extremely expensive that shouldn't be that expensive. Okay.
Yeah.
Number two, put it in an auction format so that it causes rich people's egos to be threatened so that they have to bid against each other. Three, make it so that they can flex with this and tweet about it online. Four, wait for the poorest to complain. Five, profit.
You forgot the question marks.
Yes, question marks. Oh no, there's no question mark. See, unlike the underpants gnomes, we know exactly how this works. There's no question marks.
Yeah, you know what? It's cool though, and here's the thing: like, I don't have any issue with somebody spending their money how they want to. If you want to pay $300,000-$400,000 for a skateboard to hang on your wall, by all means. Like, I don't think that this is ridiculous. I don't think this is egregious, but I do think you have to call it what it is. Again, Azuki, good at marketing. This is not a technological play. These tokens, I just, unless someone can explain this to me better and wrap it in my head in a way that I'm not seeing it, I just don't get it. I mean, this was, you know, this is something that I can see merit for with some kind of scannable barcode or something on a car to say that, you know, if the service centers all use this, then yes, this is the work that was done on this car at this time, at this date, with this many miles on it, and keeping a verifiable record that is physically attached to that item and is immutable, right? Like, those are cool use cases for real world things, but it's not like some kind of weird digital ownership on it. And as you said, maybe this thing is in a glass case mounted to the wall, secured. You have armed guards at your house, security system. Nobody's stealing anything from your house. You have a friend over and they see it and scan it, and now their token's in their wallet. Do they own it? No. I guess you just scan it back. Like, I'm not seeing that part of it. Cool skateboards, though. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, let's tune some tunes on. We're about an hour into the show. The Azuki conversation wasn't exactly as interesting as I thought it would be, honestly. But expensive skateboards, $2.5 million. Good for them. I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
What's the last thing? I don't know. Chat, you guys have been quiet. What's going on with you guys? How was your weekend? Starcatchers. They went on our run. Everyone was wondering why. An announcement of an announcement, it looks like. I don't, it's so funny how something can be dormant. Was Starcatchers like a vibrant community over the last 3-4 months? 5 months, 6 months? I don't even remember when they met.
Exist, but they're not vibrant.
Yeah. Like, I didn't, you know, as with a lot of projects, I wasn't sure if this was just one that was kind of, oh my God, 8 months ago they minted. February. Yeah, no shit. I forgot. Yeah, I wasn't sure if this was just one of those ones. They went through a lot of controversy. They went through an artist change. They updated the metadata with the new artist. I thought that was actually a really smart move of them, right? One of your big thesis of like switching the artist is great, and I think Ariel's pretty talented, but how do you go forward when you're basing it on one person's art and then a new artist has to take over? They did a really good job of actually updating it with the new artist's kind of style, right?
Woo! I honestly, if you
this was a smart move by them. They did a good job.
If you look at it compared to the old art, these are so much better.
And the other art wasn't bad.
No, the other art was great. It was very exciting art at the time. These are better, and I think you and I agreed. I'd be willing to bet money on this show. This is a partnership with a clothing brand. Will be the announcement. I think it'll probably be a big, well-known clothing brand because I don't think they're being bought for no reason. And I look forward to the announcement.
What clothing brand do you think?
Well, my prediction...
Like Gap Kids or something.
Yeah, probably a middle of the rung brand, but I always hope Louis Vuitton. These remind me, I could see these on a Louis Vuitton bag.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. I think it would be like American Eagle level, like cost brands. Not, I don't see these as being on luxury.
Yeah.
Not because of their style or whatever. I just think, or like maybe like toys. You know, that seems to be the play right now too. Toys, plushies, getting them into Target or Walmart or something like that. I'm guessing Gap Kids.
All right, I'll take or Uniqlo. Uniqlo would be a good one.
Yeah, that's yours.
Yeah, I'll choose Uniqlo because they're certainly going to be, if they haven't done it already, I think maybe they did do one, but they'll certainly be one of the first brands to mingle with NFTs. Of course, Gap has been releasing their own NFTs on Tezos, linked to clothing, and Tezos is my second hidden folder.
Another great example of an L1 that like just might not need to exist, but I think Tezos at least has a niche cover. Like it's more for like the fine art collectors, right?
Yes, and I will bet that Tezos has quite the moment next year or the year after and becomes a viable art NFT chain for artists.
You know what? The one thing I will say is that I've seen Starcatchers doing a lot is tweeting at Opensea. I don't know why that matters, but
they're trying very hard right now to get the marketing back out. They tweeted Farouk and anyone with a show and all that stuff. Which I'm all for it. I've always liked the IP. It was just a terrible storm of both internal issues with the project and the bear market collapsing in on itself that certainly left a bad taste in everyone's mouth after that.
Yeah, there's some metadata trading, right? Metadata trading.
Well, yeah, and it was on what's his name? The Boyke. What's the new project he did? Boyke.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up here. Yeah. I mean, he got kicked off of that too.
And they look great also. Guy's a great artist with great concepts, and he's obviously Doodles inspired. He came out of the Doodles Discord. The art inspired them in a way. Let's see what this announcement is. I have no inside information, but there are 600 Starcatchers out of the 10,000 listed. It went from 0.02 to 0.12, and I think it's another 580 until 1 ETH. There's only 20 listed above 1 ETH.
Is that right, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is where sometimes I got to catch myself because I stumbled across Star Catchers a couple days ago and just thought to myself like, 0.02. I mean, like that might be a buy for something with decent art. I think the team's still working on it, and then lo and behold, 2 days later at 5x's. But I mean, you got to catch yourself and kind of check your own emotions when you think like that too, because I'm sure that I did that with 10 or 20 other projects over the last 2 weeks that have done absolutely no movement or gone down. And and that's just your confirmation bias kicking in, right? So
remember, the other projects that minted that week were Wonder Pals,
yeah, let's look at them,
and Losers Club Reborn. So those 3 projects, I would argue, are also going to have pops. So will Lemons. So will all these projects had a moment. And as you can see, it takes almost nothing. 100 ETH. It takes 100 ETH of volume to 5x these things. I would argue you could buy 5 of all of these projects, list them all at 0.1, and just wait. Like it's not going to happen next week, next month. Maybe it takes it. These are all an absolutely obvious 5 or 10x. You just don't know when it's going to happen. If you had some money sitting around, I'd buy 5 of all of those projects, 10 of all of those projects, list them exactly 5x above what you paid, and just wait. And every once in a while, you'll get a little stream of emails from Opensea. Oh, this thing pumped because this person said something. Blah blah blah. And I bet even 1 or 2 of these projects will come back and be legitimate in a few years because people consider them historic. Maybe Losers, maybe Wonder Pet, maybe Star Catchers.
Loser Club is like he's still like out there a lot. What was his name? Javon.
I'm telling you, a lot of these projects just.
And Kyrie is like pretty involved in it. Not Kyrie is an interesting person, but
he may have moved that needle a little bit. But all these projects are just suffering from having existed in a very bullish period.
Yeah.
Like all.
What was the other one? Weather Report. No, that wasn't the Weather Report, was it?
Yeah, that was the other one.
Dented Fields. Yeah.
Dented Fields and the Weather Report.
What a time. What a TBT.
Oh
wow, Weather Report is down bad. Not surprised.
Yeah, that may be the one I wouldn't buy, only because there was the only reason it had a moment was because it was embroiled.
It was so hyped, and then it had that. Dude,
it was embroiled in controversy. So, but hey, like I said, the thing is, all right, you see people buy 5-6 CryptoPunks a day. You see a few apes move every day. These are 70, 80 ETH purchases. 100 ETH takes any one of these floors 5 or 10x. It's such a small amount of money that you could almost guarantee any of these projects are going to pump 5 to 10x at any time. So I love that strategy. And this is actually an old strategy from Wall Street during bear markets. You buy any stock under $1. Now I think they changed it to under 5 because it was in the 70s that this was originated. But you don't even look at the stocks. You just buy everything under a certain amount that meets a certain criteria, and you wait. And you know that 1 or 2 of them are going to go up so much that it doesn't matter if the rest of them fail. This is kind of like that strategy, except I would bet that all of these will have a 5 or 10x moment at some point because it almost takes nothing to do that. It's like such a small... How is this what you're doing a deep dive on right now? This is hurting my eyes.
I'm not. I just, I just remember talking about this so much, and now I'm looking at it because I know that during the time, Weather Report went through all of that. The artist, you guys were on Space with like 1,000 people, right? Or was it that much? It was a lot.
It was.
You had Denton or whatever on there. Seemed good, and then couple days later, he's like, by the way, I have this collection ready to go. It's going to be more expensive and more supply. And everyone was like, huh, all right, that's odd. And then it just got really messy, right? Like it there was something off about all parties involved here, right? Weather Report, Dented Fields, all of them were just. But so I never really. I don't think we revisited it too much because we're like, it is what it is. This is gross. This is just a bunch of, I think, shitty people doing shitty things at this point, and they're all there. And I never spent too much time looking at this. And I'm doing a deep dive because I'm looking at it and I'm like, this isn't really that good.
No.
Like, I'm looking at these glasses and it just feels like some like crappy clip art with a drop shadow added onto this. Like, the line work doesn't match up with the rest of the line work.
Look.
And that's why I had those flowers on the top of his head pulled up, because like it looks like something from a completely different project was just slapped on top of the head. Like, this style doesn't match this, really. Like,
this is something that I've had a hard time coming to terms with and grappling with. And look, I haven't even had the balls to say it publicly on the show, but I actually think that some of these project founders were lying to us. I know. It's a crazy thought. It's a crazy thought, but I thought it the other day, and I think some of them may have been bullshitting.
Dude, I would not be surprised if all of the parties between Weather Report and Dented Fields just collaborated on a way to drop 2 projects.
No, I mean, are you kidding? You're giving them that much brains? Are you out of your mind? What do you think?
Well, I don't think it's a crazy thought process. I don't think that takes a lot of masterful architecture. You're going to say this, I'm going to say that. We're all going to be really pissed off at each other. We're going to both do projects. And instead of splitting it 50-50 or 33 or 20-20-20-20, we're going to split it 50-50 and make twice as much. There you go. Boom. Done. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that out loud. Those are allegations.
Allegedly.
All of this is not necessarily true or direct.
It's all right. Nobody can get you. You're Canadian. You're fine.
Oh God, I'm probably.
I agree with Gizbo here. I think Atom Bomb Squad and Carrefour. Look, come on. We all know what projects had a moment. If it had a moment, it will have another.
Bomb Squad has 25,000 items.
Yeah. Nice floor for 25K, but they have perks. They have actual perks.
What did they get up to? They were above an ETH, right?
They got up to 1.1 or 1.2 around the Super Bowl because they had partnerships with the NFL and stuff. Which is great for a 25K collection.
Oh man.
Ooh, baby.
We're struggling.
Oh,
what's going on here?
Correct. I can confirm.
Maybe it's Opensea's fault. No. Carrefour? What's going on with Carrefour? 26? Yeah, man. Wow, this one was like 3 ETH at one point, wasn't it? This one on a crazy tear.
It was 5 ETH pre-reveal. Thank you.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, that's right. In Business had hundreds of Atom Bomb Squad. I think he sold everything though, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
In Biz. Yeah, Cool Man's Universe I do love. I'm bullish on the prospect of like what Free Market's talking about with like having a moment again too. Like, the guy just has such a massive following. I don't think that there's any incentive for them to stop working on the project because it's a brand that he's been building for longer than the NFT has existed. So why stop? Yeah, I just think that they're going to have a spot. A couple months ago, I think I swept the floor of like 10 or something of them at 0.12 or something. I felt pretty good about it. It's lower than that now, and there's part of me that wants to maybe just DCA very slowly, one a week, one every 2 weeks. I don't know. 10 feels like a good number to have kicking around though, honestly. Yeah. They were up to 2. I think they peaked at about 2 ETH. on the Disney rumors. Was that right? Am I remembering that correctly? Remember
Yeah.
he tweeted just going into a meeting with Disney, wish me luck or something.
Yep.
The babies launch was tough. The Cool Man's Babies was tough. It wasn't good. Bad market to launch into. What's that?
It was.
Yeah.
No lie.
Interesting. I don't know. What else is it? What's in your hidden folder or main folder that you'd be bullish on? I mean, I know you're probably still holding a lot of lemons.
I like lemons. I like breakfast sandwiches because they recently did a partnership with Nouns and are producing their coffee. There was a sweep. They went from 0.001 to 0.03, which is a nice 300x if you bought that. No, I'm just saying.
Did they cut the mint? Because I know
no, I believe it's still an open. Again, this it's nothing I have any hope for anytime soon. But if I was thinking in my hidden folder, I have breakfast sandwiches.
Oh, you moved them to your hidden folder?
Yeah, I did.
He was a fun guy to talk to too. We did an interview with him.
I kept out my favorite ones that I like to wear now and again, but I did hide just the majority of them because it was like, I feel like it shouldn't be called the hidden folder. We should have a long-term folder because then there's the stuff.
Yes.
Well, it's true though, because like anytime I'm on my main page and I have to scroll too much to get to the NFT I'm thinking about, it pisses me off. So I'll tend to hide whatever's in between it, in a sense, or so. I have a lot of Gen art in my hidden folder. Again, Gen art I love that I think is going to be very valuable. It's just, I don't want to look at it anymore. It's going to be a long time before it's worth anything.
I have not moved my Dekenza to the hidden folder. It's still proudly being displayed.
Yeah, that was insta hide.
What? The Dekenza?
Yeah. Not because I didn't like it.
Carefully curated NFT gallery.
Yeah, exactly.
Raid party. What's going on there? I'm looking at my folder right now. You still raid partying?
No. They sold to a company doesn't believe in P2E. Well, they handed the project over to Webiverse. The Webiverse head came into the Discord and talked about how he doesn't like utility tokens or believes in P2E, and that was it. Everyone stopped playing. Here's what I kept saying about
God damn.
Raid
I didn't know that.
Was that it was actually still making the most, for me personally, because I had played a lot, it was still making me the most money out of any of the P2Es out there until they handed it over to Webiverse. And they give it to Webiverse, and the Webiverse people come in like, we don't believe in P2E. Utility tokens are stupid. It was a dumb structure. They stopped, and everyone stopped playing, and that was it. I believed in it up until that point because it was making me $400 a week in the bear. I was like, shit, something's making me $400 a week in the bear. Everyone's saying it's dead. Well, whatever. But once they me too. Yeah, it was profitable. I was making money every week on that game. And then, and look, I don't know exactly why they lost a lot of devs. And the reason they lost the devs is likely because it was the most egregious Discord and community you had ever been in once things went sour. It was just all day people being assholes, right? And it's hard.
It's fun when price goes up, and then it turns very bad when price goes down.
And again, I'm not even saying these people weren't justified. I'm saying I'm not surprised that all the devs left the project, because who would want to be in that atmosphere?
Yeah.
So
they didn't do themselves any favors, but it's one of the pretty rough traits about this market is the open access to creators and people's being very vocal about how they think things should be going and what should be done. I'm not going to give raid party creators a pass. I mean, they simply weren't ready at any point that they said they would be ready. The guilds were supposed to be, a highly anticipated function that was at release or shortly thereafter, and it took months and months and months. I just, for how talented they were at what they did. Who was the dev? Not Zark. Hassan. Like, I would have just thought that this guy would be able to pump out that work like fast, but the game was, I don't know.
Yeah, and then Hassan left. Zark was left with no devs, and even when they announced the Webiverse news, I was still optimistic. The problem was Webiverse came in and was like, "We don't believe in P2E."
Yeah.
What the fuck? Everyone was making money. Like,
why are you doing
goddamn
this?
hell? It's like, it was like, you know what? Everyone that's saying it's dead is right. We're just going to go with them, even though a large swath of the community is playing the game profitably every week.
Well, it was only profitable because of the money that they were putting back in, right? From their own, well, I'm going to say their own project, from the project's pocket. But Webiverse probably didn't want to do that.
Which in my opinion was one of the greatest strategies during the bear market. You need to bridge the gap between speculators coming back, demand being created, all that stuff. And it seemed like a very small piece of the pie to be devoting to keeping the players playing.
Yeah. Drip's asking, saying, I want to know how much Zach and Hassan walked away with. I mean, it would be interesting too, right? Because but fuck, I have no idea, man. They're not the worst culprits either, so.
Yeah. No, I blame Webiverse. I get angry at anyone who doesn't believe in the P2E model because everything crashed. Everything crashed. Non-P2E crashed.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Crazy, man. Crazy. Wild stuff. I remember we were the first 3, 4, 5 people in that Discord. Like, literally, the first 5.
Yep. I genuinely never had a problem with the team. I really didn't care. I mean, everything seemed to, for me, everything was working fine. The game was fun, and a bear market hit. All we had to do was make it to the other side. Well, for a million reasons, we didn't make it to the other side, and Webiverse is fucking...
But the other thing, too, is you're right about that, but they just stopped shipping,
Yeah.
Like, I never logged into that game and saw any kind of, like, good incremental progress.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I lost interest, because I was never going to be fighting on the leaderboard like you were and using it to make money, which is great. But, like, every time I would log in there, like, nothing is new. It's been a month. It's been 2 months. Like, what's going on? Anyways, besides the point. Sorry. I had no idea that they got handed over to Webiverse, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on that note, anything else you want to talk about?
Oil Services ETF, the OIH. Very bullish. Very
oil.
bullish.
What?
The Oil Services ETF, which is an electronically traded fund that is comprised of oil and gas service companies. Now, it was $200. Yeah. Well, it was $200 a few weeks ago. It is $280 now. And I was the biggest oil bull from 2020 until June of this year. Then I was the biggest oil bear you have ever met until last month. Then I became a big oil bull again, then a bear again. And now I am long-term bullish on oil and oil services. The OIH is headed back to $550. The Discord was absolutely aping calls over the last few weeks. They got into Snapchat on Friday, which is up 9% a day. We're feeling good, man.
Feeling feeling great. All right, guys. I think it is looking like 11 o'clock Eastern time. We've been going for an hour and a half, so I think that's a good time to put this show on ice. Episode 157 of the AlphaMint AM show is going to be in the books. I want to just thank everybody that tuned in. I appreciate you, appreciate your time. If you want to show us some love by hitting the like button on the show, it is always, we always love to see number go up, especially in these bear markets, but we'll see what happens. Number going up on stocks and crypto. So right now things are looking okay, at least for the short term. If you tuned in late, we of course talked about Aptos. We started off the conversation actually just with some vegan talk. I bought a nice vegan this weekend, and that was very exciting. It's always nice to make some new purchases, and that's something you're excited to, in your NFT portfolio. We talked about the Fire Festival Island being turned into a crypto millionaire's haven for whoever's still a millionaire in this space. What else we talk about? Opensea Nate, and the government looking like it's overreaching in terms of their charges against him. We talked about a bunch of golden skateboards being sold for a lot of money to a lot of rich people. That was fun. And then we kind of just riffed on some old projects. We looked at Karafuru, Losers Club, Starcatchers going on a nice little run over the last couple days. Maybe some signs of life. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But on that note, we are going to finish it off. So again, I appreciate your time. Free Market, always a pleasure being up here with you for the AM show. Take us out of here.
Good luck at the tables, DJ.